Let's do the dang thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talking, they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here on the show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
Hey.
It's all about that BS, peeps.
It's even worse than baby. I want baby back. Give me them baby back ribs.
It's all about that BS, baby. There it is. Oh, man. They're already recognizing Fred's voice has changed.
Yeah, Fred's just slightly sicker than I am, so I'm going to show up here and get this under control behind the mic.
Physically, not mentally.
Yeah, that's true. Representing those, this is a Christmas gift from Fred. We're keeping him in our hearts, trying to get this done. Project Pat jersey.
I like it. I like it. Well, like we said, Fred not being here tonight. Fred has been feeling ill. Actually, I was on vacation last week again. 2 weeks ago, we took a little hiatus. We had a fun guys' night out. It was a great time. We'll kind of get into that here in a little bit.
I feel like we forgot how to do this. We've been going so often.
All right. Then last week, you guys, I was on vacation. You guys were all set to have the show, and Fred woke up not feeling so hot.
Yeah, he was more pissed than any of you that we didn't get the show done because he had all the work done. All the fun was yet to be had that evening, and he couldn't get out here to get the show accomplished.
Yeah, so we've got a lot to cover. We're going to cover some of the things that we're going to cover last week. But before we do, Ryan, let's give a shout out to our sponsor.
Well, winter is coming. It's cold outside, and that means you may slip and fall on a sidewalk. Your brakes might lock up and not work so well. So if you're injured at work or an auto accident, you know who to call because you're watching this show. If you haven't saved this number yet, you're not going to, but we're going to ask you anyway. 855-MD-CRASH. Save that number now. Or when you have an accident, I guess you can just go to YouTube and play the first 5 minutes of any one of these videos.
You're bound to get it then.
Yeah, they're the personal injury attorneys that'll have your back. Please call 855-MD-CRASH. That's 855-632-7274. And be sure to follow them on Facebook for all the fun giveaways, including tickets to hometown games.
All right, it's time for some flock talk, baby. Now, this one, we're going to start with some of the latest news that's come out. We didn't get a chance to break down what happened with the Vikings. We're going to briefly kind of skim over that here in a few minutes. But then we're going to get into the horrific loss that was the primetime game against the Dolphins. And it just didn't go nearly the way that we wanted it to.
That's not how a Dolphin game should be, right? But that's we're used to. We lost to the 1-16 Dolphins, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we're going to get into the show and tell this week. We went full celeb status at the basketball games. Fred and I had a really amazing time down there before
I'm
he
excited to hear
caught the
this
plague.
story.
So it was a lot of fun. But the football team hasn't quite got it together. I see a lot of improvements on the field, but it's just not W time just yet.
And Bros, Bows, and O's is back for just this week as we need to talk about some of the BS with a few of the birds getting snubbed by the Writers Association. Even despite Ceddy Donahue. That's right, Ceddy Donahue. He won that award down there, hon. So we're going to get into that as well.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
And then this week's rundown, I think you had this week's rundown. What was the list of stuff we got going on there?
This week's rundown, we will get into the Vegas decisions, the former drama with the Queen of the North, and some Wizardry in D.C. Finally have a real basketball team down the road, so might have to go check those out live this year.
Yeah, we're excited to talk about that, and got some good questions, too, as well for the 2-minute warning. So let's get into this. This week with the Ravens, per Ryan Mink, the Ravens injury news yesterday, Derek Wolfe is likely done for the year per John Harbaugh in a really, really, what was the easiest way to put it? It was very cryptic. Let's let you guys hear and tell us what you think.
On that, that's not going to be looking good this year. I think Derek's going to be out for the rest of the year. In all honesty, it looks that way. So I don't really have any details on it. I can't say that I understand it completely. It'd be a good question for our medical people or for Eric if they want to put a statement out, or if Derek wants to say something, because I won't get it right exactly. But it's just he's not in a place where he's going to be able to play.
So, cryptic message that he's leaving it up to Derek if he wants to talk about it. We've seen this a little bit in the past, but that usually means that it's something major.
Yeah, it's either that or you're trying to avoid a defamation of character suit or something where like you think you should be on the field, but you're a baby about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's been dealing with the back issue, the knee issue. It's been a problem. There's concern there. We thought he was getting better. Now it's all of a sudden changed. Has he tweaked something more? Is it potentially career ending? There's so many questions, but we got to look at this because this guy, going into the season, we gave him a 3-year contract, right? He's making $6.5 million this year, and he hasn't seen a snap on this field. And he's a force when he is on the field. That's what sucks the most, because this defense, they need some additional pressure up front. You got B. Will that just recently went down. You were hoping to have him coming back. And now we learned that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we were really happy with his production last year. Like you said, he played like a Raven. When the re-signing was definitely something we looked at fondly.
It was mutual re-signing for Reese.
He liked how it was being done here. Looked good in the preseason, and it was just all downhill from there.
Yeah, it didn't look good. Tavon Young, some good news there. It's not as serious on the foot as they thought. And words are that he could actually potentially come back this week. Big news there, because
we need all the help we can do in the secondary.
Well, we need depth in the secondary, right? Our depth has continued to get depleted, and we really need Tavon to come back and be able to make an impact. Stevens has stepped up a little bit and been able to do okay, but Tavon, there's a difference when he's on the field.
He's absolutely one of the best slot corners when he's healthy. Unfortunately, when he's healthy, is very rare.
Yeah, it's been a rough one. The other guy that's had some struggles this year that we thought was a slam dunk starter this year
Don't know how that went wrong.
Injured a little while back. Offensive guard Ben Cleveland has a chance to be active for this week. Severely needed on that O-line.
Yeah, I just don't see it, though. I mean, he can return at this point. He should have been playing earlier, we thought, in the first place, but I don't think they're going to rush this big-time future part of your offensive line back. So if you see him, it'll be very limited, in my opinion.
And at this point, it should be coming off the injury, but the problem is this offensive line has seen so many struggles. And we saw it in the Dolphins game. We're going to get into that. It wasn't pretty in the Minnesota game either. So they really need him to come back, but come back healthy. But you can't rush it back because we already have enough injuries as it is. And the other big news, Nick Boyle was apparently very close to playing in that Miami game. I want to know why he wasn't, because it would have been better.
We certainly needed an extra lineman, which is basically what Boyle is a lot of the time.
Boyle would have picked up those cornerback blitz.
Yeah.
Right? He would have picked that up all day long. There's been some struggles there, but that's good news, because it sounds like he could be active for this Bears game, which would be very exciting as long as he continues down the road this week.
Project Pat has served valiantly. He will still have a huge role, but definitely some of the things that he's been required to do will now go back to Boyle with the rightful ownership of it.
Let him slide back into those formations where he can be a true fullback, and maybe that buys a little bit of time, right? We know the other news, Le'Veon Bell was released today. Very cryptic message that he put out, but it was a nice message on social media. He says, "This hurts, but it's been a blessing to be here, to say the least. I've enjoyed every second of this short period. I got a whole new meaning of what this city is like, and it's a great place to be. I appreciate Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh for the opportunity to be called an Raven." He spelled it wrong. It should be a Raven. But nice message. But there's people on social media that are flipping out on this, and I was curious to get yours and James' take on this today. What was your initial gut reaction when it comes out that he's being released?
I don't know what my initial reaction was, but my current reaction is that Nick Short's just a closeted Steelers fan, because he's had all these AB talk for years, and now he's one of the ones whining and complaining about Le'Veon Bell being cut. So AB and LB, I think he just likes the Steelers, and he just doesn't want to tell us what's going on out there, Nick.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened there.
The initial reaction really is the fact that he didn't do much. Like, yeah, he had a couple plays. The Minnesota game, he had a nice long run, but he was basically being pushed by the lineman through a pile. There wasn't anything going on.
He had 2 short touchdown runs that
anyone could have got.
Anybody should have been able to get through. So, yeah, 31 attempts, 83 yards. On 31 attempts, I would expect a lot more than 83 yards.
He was no better in the air than Freeman was, which was why we thought we were bringing him in. It was more of a pass-catching running back.
Which I don't know. I didn't look up the numbers as far as, how much was he in that passing game. I'd have to look at how many snaps he was out there during the passing game, how many attempts he had. Maybe James could look that up for us. But overall, from a running standpoint, he had 31 attempts, 83 yards, those 2 TDs. But when you look at that, he averaged 2.7.
Yeah, not good enough. 3.3 is the minimum, bud. That's how you get a first down.
Yeah, exactly. you can't expect that to be okay. It doesn't help. It wasn't there. I know that people liked him. They thought it was there. But here's the deal. This opened up a door for a question that Harbaugh was asked yesterday regarding Tyson Williams. Because he was specifically asked about Tyson, and Bobby Trossett reported today because he was the one that asked the question. He was asking, does this give Tyson a chance to get more in the running game, or is he expected to get more in the running game? And Harbaugh gave a very annoyed / cryptic messaging.
We're addicted to the word cryptic today, but yeah, this one much more was. He was just talking about, he wouldn't refer to that player, but was speaking directly towards that player's situation. So you're clearly talking about Tyson Williams. So he was like, well, speaking of any player, say you're a running back. Yeah, that's who we asked you about, was a running back. Thanks. You need to run harder, carry the ball securely, break tackles. And, if you're the 3rd string running back, it wouldn't hurt you to get out there on punt coverage and special teams. But, we're not talking about Tyson here, just any player.
Right.
What do you mean any player? You just
so
specifically talked about Tyson for 5 minutes, bro.
It was pretty bad. It was very clear that he was talking about him, and that's the sad part. And this is something that we've seen before with Harbs, that if you just get on his bad side in any way, he pulls snaps from you. It's about ego instead of being about the team and about the win and about the game. If you look on paper, Tyson Williams on paper gives you the most yardage per carry.
He's faster. He's younger. He's probably stronger, maybe. That one might be questionable.
He can get to the outside a little bit better than a Freeman can.
That's all Freeman kept trying to do this last game.
Because they were blocking him up the middle. They were able to, those linebackers, the way that the Dolphins were playing, we're going to get into it, the linebackers were able to stop them. But overall, Le'Veon Bell, he really wasn't an impact here. He wasn't. They brought him in as somewhat of a stopgap. He really didn't impress. There was nothing to be impressed about. The 2 touchdowns, great, but again, he should have had him. No, anybody should have had him.
I looked up on Football Reference, and he had 3 attempts. He had 2 in one game, and he only had 1 reception for -1 yards.
So even the one time he gets it, I think that was out the flat where he fell down.
And this should put to bed. This should put to bed all the rumors about people were coming to the Ravens talking about trading for one of our 3 running backs. No one ever was, because if they ever were, then they would have done something about it and not cut this man after the trade deadline passed. Yeah. So no one ever had any interest in our busted running back core after we lost our 2 starting running backs.
Yeah, it just wasn't happening. Let's take a few minutes. I just want to skim over, before we get into the Dolphins game, I want to skim over the squeak out win that was the Vikings, as we pull that out 34-31 in that situation. I think they made them 6-2. A win was a win, but it didn't feel like one.
No, absolutely not. I by accident watched the whole game because
how do you watch the whole game by accident?
Because I gave up on the game. And at halftime, I was like, this is just not going well. I had stuff to do. I needed to cut the yard, things like that. So I went upstairs, got changed, got ready to go cut the yard, and I somehow missed the kick return for a touchdown in that moment. I would have 100% turned the TV off if I watched that kick return for a touchdown, but I didn't. I came back to them driving and scoring, so it caught my attention. And so I sat and watched the rest of the game and the comeback win. But I had 100% checked out of that game, and that kick return would have certainly been the dagger. So I just sat there in my, getting ready to cut the grass clothes the rest of the game.
And to your point, this game, it started flat. They looked unprepared. It looked like we've been seeing out of them the first few drives of the game just did not go well. Lamar had some bad throws early. He had the pick. He had 2 missed picks by the Vikings. They should have had those picks. So there should have been 3 in this game.
The one pick was a miracle, though. That defensive end tapping the ball up to himself. That was, I mean, it wasn't a great throw, but nobody makes that play.
But that's one of the things that has been a knock for some people with Lamar is the slots that he's throwing out of. It makes it easy for some of these linemen to predict and why they can have the pass deflections. We're going to get to that with the Bears coming up soon. But the fumble on the shovel pass on the 4th down on the first drive, called back to the horse collar tackle. Right?
Yep.
Mark Andrews, bad drop in the end zone. Right through his hands. Right through his hands. It was horrible.
The expected stars did not play well in this game. The reason that we won was when the non-expected, the backups, the Pat Ricards of the world, the Devin Duvernays of the world, they started stepping up in the second half and really made this a game.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about some of those names. I mean, Duvernay with the one-handed catch in the back of the end zone.
It's a beautiful catch.
Beautiful catch.
Not a great throw, beautiful catch.
Ricard, another one-handed catch on that sideline, to your point.
After he basically drove down the field by himself.
And exactly. And then the one guy that, is at this point, for the time that he's been out there so far, seems to be fairly as advertised in Rashad Bateman. Multiple snatch. You throw this ball in this guy's direction, there's a pretty damn good chance he's catching it.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as this season has gone for us, the bright sides are the fact that our young players that we have gotten this year do look good. They do not look like misses. OA looks great. He's been productive every game. Bateman looks great. He's productive every game that he's played. Of course, he'd missed the first couple. But even coming off injury, this man is breaking hard. He's getting open, strong hands. He was in the right place for this fumble recovery. Was that the Dolphins game?
That was the Dolphins game, yeah.
Yeah, but he's just in the right place, right time, doing heads-up plays, and it's good to see. It's good to see the young talent.
And it sucks because this young talent is so utilized, but he's not utilized enough, in my opinion. You have some of these guys like Duvernay. We were talking pre-show. You made the comment, and I think you're absolutely right. Duvernay is one of the best number 3 wide receivers as of this moment. The way that his body of work looks for this year, he's having one of the best number 3 seasons we've seen thus far. Now, you're factoring in, too, that this is also a guy that as a number 3 is also doing your kick and your punt returns.
Yeah, and honestly, is he running as the 3? They're pretty much running him as the 4 right now because for some reason we still believe in Watkins. But Watkins needs to get on down the road and let us run with Bateman and Hollywood and Perry.
In the Vikings game, that was a struggle. There were so many drop passes. And the other thing was that hurt them, the penalties. This team moved the ball more from penalty yards than total yards of offense in the first half. That's a fact for you.
That is pretty shocking.
Think about that. You moved the ball more through penalty yards than you did through offense? Are you kidding me? That just shows you what's happening. There's weapons that are there. Some of it's scheming. Some of it's play calling. Some of it maybe is on Lamar with some of the decision making. You can't point your finger at one thing. But look, they won this game, right? There were some things that were, okay. Justin Jefferson did get blow by Marlon Humphrey, 50-yard TD catch. Marlon had some struggles there. Dalvin Cook, 66-yard run on the second drive, down inside the red zone, right?
Making people spin around in circles on that run. It was pretty messy.
But there's some plus sides, right? Drew's not here, but is Drew ready to call Marquise Hollywood yet? He had a monster game, guys. 76 yards after the catch in this game.
In that game. But we missed last show when we should have been talking like this.
Right.
Because the next game didn't go so well.
No, but part of that wasn't on him.
Yeah. They force-fed it to him, but didn't do much with it.
Look, here's the deal. I believe it was Ben Drexel, I believe is his name on Twitter, kind of called me out on it and basically said, is Scott, jumping for joy with the way that Hollywood's been playing? I swear I think Hollywood listened to us at some point because now, I don't know. I'm trying to buff up the show, all right? But no, now what are we seeing out of Hollywood? What have we seen out of him the past several games? He is fighting for that extra yardage. He gets it. He's not shying. He's not dropping to the ground. He's not running to the sidelines. He's turning inside and upfield what we expected him to do.
And when did that change? The day that Bateman came back to practice. Because he looked around and saw, oh shit, I'm not the number one. I need to show up. I need to do my work. Being the quarterback's best friend is not going to get me through this because that guy's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, but take a listen to these, right? 648 yards on 6 TDs so far this year. So it's spread out. We're 10, 10 or 8 games in, 10 games in, 9 games in. 9 games into the season, 10 weeks in with the bye. 648 yards, 6 TDs. He's on pace. Credit to Fred for doing the math on this. He's on pace for 98 receptions, 1,400 plus yards, and 13 TDs.
He only credited Fred on the math in case it's wrong.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. But no, look, Marquise has definitely been doing well. He's been being fed really well from Lamar. Lamar in that game, 26 of 41 for 266 yards, 3 TDs, 2 interceptions. Obviously, the interceptions being a big problem, but the 3 TDs kept them into this game. I know a lot of them came late, but it came in the right time to win this game. He also had 21 carries, 120 yards, averaging 5.7. We saw him run a lot more in this game. A few designed runs, but still in this game, in the Vikings game specifically, still didn't see a ton of design runs like we've seen him in the past. It would have been nice to see some of them be more designed and less scrambling. He did have more passing yards than Kirk Cousins, more rushing yards than Dalvin Cook. He single-handedly beat their top 2 guys.
Yeah, first QB in NFL history record multiple games with 3 TD passes and 100 yards rushing. He already has tied for Michael Vick's whole career for 100-yard rushing games in this first couple of years. This is one of the greatest athletes of our generation. So, yes, is he having problems? Are the turnovers part of why we lose games? Sure they are. But the only reason that they matter is because this superhuman athlete has us in the game for those interceptions to matter. Because without him, we wouldn't even be anywhere near winning these games, and the interceptions would have no effect. We'd just be getting blown out or blown out worse.
Yeah, the thing here too is, when it comes to Lamar, and we're going to get now into the Dolphins game here in a quick second, but one of the things before the Dolphins game, since starting the first game in Week 11 of 2018, from that week until the end of the Vikings game, only Henry, Chubb, Cook, and Elliott rushed for more yards.
Those are some names, aren't they? The top of the running backs.
That just goes to show you why are we not seeing? I never said I wanted to see him throw more. What I said was a more balanced attack. I didn't want him to stop running the ball, right? And that's what we're seeing. He's forcing it at times. We see some open lanes. We saw it in the Vikings game big time. We were talking about that. We saw it again in the Dolphins game. Some open lanes that he could have gotten at least a few yards versus taking a sack or doing, getting some extra yards.
And just spending way too much time in the pocket. Like there were some of those sacks where there was a lot of times where our line was getting blown up. But I think at least 2 of them, he was holding the ball for 4 or 5 seconds. Have you not been in this game? You not know you don't have 4 seconds, 5 seconds to stand back there? Like count to 3 and run.
Yeah, and Mark says it here. He says Lamar can't do it alone every week, and I get what you're saying. He definitely can't. There has to be some designs to be able to get off of get him off of it. But we've seen it in some of the struggles. We've seen them almost take away the threat of Lamar's legs. Right? It's almost as if that's being taken away at times, and whether that's defense or scheming, I'll tell you what, looks a lot like scheming to me. There's a lot of things that I'm seeing in the designs. Getting the play calling in has been a problem. It's one of those things that just really hurts. The other thing that hurts is the defense has had struggles, right? The defense, the miscommunication in this game between Elliott and Humphrey on the first drive. The special teams return coverage mistake to start the second half. Minnesota only scores 17. If that doesn't happen, possibility there. I don't know, but at the same time, you got to look at all those things. This defense has had some struggles.
I just want to shoot in real quick by saying 2 people should have been cut today, and they were both on the offensive side. Bell and Roman should have been cut today. There is no reason after that Fins game, he should have been on a different plane. Like This guy does not get it at all. He's got to go, or the team's going to go downship from here. And we're going to talk about it later in our prediction, but what the Dolphins did to the Ravens, that's done for me, dude.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that, right? Because let's just rip the freaking Band-Aid off at this point, because that primetime game, we've had issues with primetime games.
We're not on a Band-Aid anymore.
Yeah, well,
we're on a bandage.
Rip the gauze off. We've had struggles in primetime games, and this one felt like other ones, but worse, because this was a serious trap game in the making. There were some things that were written in a comedy almost, because it was Jacoby Brissett going down, right? He wasn't getting anywhere. Oh, we weren't prepared for Tua. Tua comes in and lights this defense up.
Brissett was already beating us.
He was already doing well, exactly. And so the Dolphins deserve to win this game with the way they played, not only offensively, but I'm sorry, I'm going to give them credit defensively. Whatever they were doing on looks, whatever they were doing on scheming, whatever was happening was apparently confusing and hard to judge by our offensive coordinator in Greg Roman.
I don't know about this Be More Tuber.
What is he saying? Be More, regardless of the bad loss, is a team that somehow found a way to be 6-3 despite 30% of their projected roster, out. Yeah, and I get that. And that's for those of you that don't know Be More Tuber. Be More Tuber is sick right now. Hint, hint. But look, here's the deal. Yes, they're 6-3, but they are very easily, to your point, they're very, very easily at this point
3-6
in a 3
with a 60-yard field goal, with a miracle overtime win, they've done great with what they have. But that's what the credit I was giving. Lamar has done that. We gave too much credit to the team when there was one defensive win, and the rest were Lamar.
And here's the deal. This game, this Dolphins game, this was probably, you may be asking yourself, how do we lose this game? Well, take your pick first off, because you can point the finger in a bunch of different directions, and it was a team thing, and it starts with coaching. And Harbaugh, credit to him for actually saying that. That's what he's supposed to say, by the way. So only a little bit of credit for saying it. But this game was the worst called game offensively this year, possibly of the Lamar era.
Let's do the same thing over and over again when none of it works.
Not only that, right? You have the fact that they ran it was the same set for the first half. It was like I think, James, you kind of pointed out, it was like 5 different sets. That's it. That's all you were running.
All game.
And you ran the same play out of all 5 sets every single time. So it's going to be unsuccessful. Right? But the horrible communication in this game, too. This has got to be the worst clock management this year. Getting to the line with 5 and 7 seconds left on the game clock constantly throughout the first half and really the first 3 quarters. You won time of possession 31-49 to 28-11 simply because you couldn't get the play calls into your quarterback. They're not breaking the huddle. He's not even getting into the huddle until there's 15 seconds left. You're not getting him that call until it's 15 seconds left. Are you kidding me?
And there didn't seem to be any strategy or reason for it, because they were running the same play on defense over and over again. If they were getting to a point where they were reading your sets and they were audibling to a coverage, and so therefore you just wanted to get to the line and snap the ball. Okay. No, they're running engage 8. They're blitzing everybody every play. There's nobody covering, and you're not doing anything about it. You're not running quick slants. You're not getting the ball on a 9 route. Just throw the ball deep and see what happens. You're throwing screen passes and bubble screens, and they're coming this way. Why would you throw it behind the line? That's where everybody's going.
And there's a lot of different fingers. You could point it at Harbaugh. You could put it at Greg Roman, definitely, for sure. The scheming, is it Lamar for not saying something? I still am a firm believer with Greg Roman. I don't give a fuck who the hell you think you are. Get your ass down on the fucking sideline and call a game.
I wonder if Greg Roman's at halftime just scratch his head like, why is my plays not working?
I don't know. Did
he have my playbook like the water boy?
It was so bad. But you know what was just as bad? The blown coverages and big plays on the defense. The poor communication. The wide open 63-yarder.
On 3rd and 7.
On 3rd and 7. You could have stopped them. but you let him get wide open because of a horrible coverage. You had nobody. It was a miscommunication on who should have been out there. Horrible, right? You can't have that. You cannot have this out of a defense that just last year was one of the top defenses in the league, and we still have the same core. Not much has changed in that sense. Because Roman was too busy ordering hot cocoa in the booth. Travis. I like it, Travis.
It was a little high for hot cocoa.
It's cold down there in Miami.
Yeah. Look, the other thing that sucked, right? Back to the offensive side of the ball for a second. Watkins, the fumble.
Watkins don't need to be out there anymore. We've discussed this. He was a good stopgap while we had an injured first round pick in Bateman, but he's not our number 3 anymore. I don't know what he's doing there. Yeah. Duvernay needs to get more balls. He doesn't drop anything. He's faster than most players on our squad. He needs to be getting more play, and Watkins needs to be a reserve at best.
And I want to get into Lamar here for a second, because there's a lot of people that were on social media throwing shade at the situation with throwing too much with Lamar. And I want to give a little bit when it comes to throwing with Lamar and versus a balanced attack. I've been calling for a balanced attack. But I'm also not going to ignore the numbers of why they may have done some of the things that they did. When you look at Lamar in his young career, he tied for the most attempts in his career, 43. It's his 3rd time in 2 years that he's thrown 43. Pro Football Reference, I looked up the numbers. When throwing for 35 times or more, Lamar came into this game with a 5-1 record in that scenario.
Well, pretty much any statistic, Lamar's record's going to be great because Lamar's record's great.
When he throws for 40 or more, it's 2-1. And yes, you can add the 2. You can add a 2 next to both of those. But let's also consider that of 4 of the 7 games that are over 35 in that count were this year with no solid running back. 4, over half.
Yeah, there's no option. You don't have a line that's doing anything in the running game. You've lost all your running backs except for your now geriatric Freeman. You apparently your number 2 running back now your coach hates. So what are you going to do?
That's where the balance comes in, that you have to have the balanced attack of letting Lamar use his legs.
This dude might get 12 carries this week because apparently Harbaugh don't want anybody or he doesn't want Tyson Williams to touch the ball. So Pat Ricard might be your number 2 running back.
Drew chiming in and says, with this running back core, a balanced attack goes out the window. And I call bullshit because we're not seeing designed runs, as many designed runs for Lamar himself to keep the ball and do it. I don't care if we don't have a running back core. He's our biggest threat rushing. We just talked about this. The guy has the same yards as some of the top tier running backs in the league since he started. You've taken away effectively his ability or your willingness to design a run to get him to go, which opens up his ability to throw on the run, opens up the ability to throw the ball. That's when you force it too much, it can be a problem. But you can't deny the numbers either that he's done well. And 4 of those 7 games that he's won with throwing more than 35 times this year? Are you kidding me?
So Drew calls bullshit here saying it can't just be Lamar, which I agree with.
He said not bullshit. It cannot just be Lamar. Meaning the running game. But I'm saying that I'm calling bullshit on the fact that Lamar has the ability to use his legs. Well, they've taken that away in some
I'll play the middle here because I'm between you two here. So okay. I don't think that we can have a balanced attack by running Lamar 10 design runs a game or something that would help balance us out. You're going to beat this guy to hell. He's already getting hit too much. But part of him getting hit too much is because he's not running, and the fact that these guys are pinning their ears back and rushing the pocket more than they ever have been able to in the past because they're really not that scared that he's going to run by them. You're not getting the quarterback delay runs. You're not getting things that would slow that rush down. You're getting him dropping back and trying to pick people apart, which he's shown he's capable of, but our offensive line isn't capable of letting him do it.
And B. More Tuber brings that up. He says nobody's talking about how poorly this offensive line has looked. We need Macari back and Cleveland back. And look, that'll should hopefully help. And guys are going to be able to push back a little bit on these defenses. But the problem is that you've got to have all these things work together. You can't take away the biggest threat, which is Lamar's legs and his ability to be mobile. We've seen him drop more into the pocket than we've ever have, and that's okay. but you also have to give him the ability to say, hey, if it's not there, take it yourself.
I got a question. This is if Be More Tumor's still out there, if he can answer this, or any of it. Maybe someone coming up from the practice squad. Like, what about Kari?
You talking about Makari?
Yeah,
Makari's injured right now, isn't he?
Yeah, that's where you need him back from injury.
That's why we got to get him back from injury because Makari went down like 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago.
Our practice squad was my bad pick in the draft. That was the only lineman we had left there.
No,
we
I'm
can't
not
even
talking
get
about the
our
lineman. I'm talking about the running back.
for the running backs. We've stretched every running back option that we have. I mean, we were scratching the barrel of the free agency market. I think that you need to get more end arounds to Duvernay, more. Not a lot of runs for Lamar, but just you need a run from Lamar every other run.
McCrary is who you're referencing.
Yeah, and I think maybe he's going to be given a shot this week because we have nothing to lose, to be honest.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Tyson based on that comment that coach made. So who knows who's going to get that running ball?
Look, we'll have time's going to tell us that you got to do something. You've got to bring something up. You have an open roster spot at this point. So where do you go? I don't know. Well, time's going to tell. The other thing that happened in this game. Go ahead, James. Tucker.
He's not on the field to be kicking, so he's going to miss once in a while. You know, he's got to be on the field to make these kicks, you know.
James says he's out of practice.
He needs to be out there and putting points up because no one else can. He's
still one of the best kickers in the league. Everybody's going to miss one every now and then. He was as shocked as we were. It wasn't a bad miss. It was just a little right. On a 48-yarder, there's a lot of teams that are missing, 25, 30-yard chip shots. So you can't hate on them too bad.
And I think Craig was asking who the number 2 is, and I think that's the problem is we don't even know who our number 1 running back is. By the way,
I guess if Murray's healthy, he would still be our number 1.
Right, and then if not, it's Freeman. But then if that's the case, if Murray is your number 1, he comes back healthy, then it's Freeman number 2. Tyson is the odd man out, unless he's, according to maybe Harbaugh, maybe he's not willing to be on the side of the ball that goes out there for special teams.
When you have a real running back, maybe he's not in that position because Hill was nothing but a speedster special teamer. You drafted him as the second coming of something that was never going to happen. So, yeah, of course he played special teams for you. I'm sorry that maybe this guy's just not built for it. I don't look at Tyson Williams and see a special teamer. He doesn't have, unbelievable speed. He doesn't look like he's got a defensive build or anything that you can do those things with. He looks like a running back. Hill was not a running back. That's where you got a gunner. Good job. No. You drafted a gunner way too high.
Well, I mean, and you look at this game from a from a rushing standpoint, right? Again, Devontae Freeman had 10 carries for 35 yards, 3.5. Devin Duvernay gets the end around. He gets 19 yards on it. Great. Le'Veon Bell, 3 carries, 1 yard. That's why he was cut, okay? For those of you that are wondering, that right there is why he's cut. You get 3 carries, you get a yard, right? That's not okay. Lamar leads the team in yardage, 9 carries, 39 yards. Again, no design runs, looking for the throws, which leads to the 1 interception and also leads to the 4 sacks for a loss, a total of 28 yards. He was 26-43 for 238 yards in this game passing. But this receiving core didn't help him with Sammy and Marquise, both with the fumble, right? Bateman, 6 receptions on 8 targets,
pretty much
80
all
yards.
Late, though. Pretty much all late in garbage time.
All late in garbage time.
Finally start going to him.
And 30 of that 80 came on 1 play.
Yeah, and they were force feeding the ball to Hollywood the whole beginning of the game. What was it? 13 receptions for nothing.
Well, he had 6 receptions for 37 yards, but he had 13 targets.
Oh, 13 targets.
13 targets. Mark Andrews, 6 receptions on 8 targets for 63 yards. Right? That's what was happening. Devontae Freeman did look good catching out of the backfield. 3 receptions for 23 yards, averaging 7 and a quarter or 7.5. But Sammy had 3 targets in this game. He got 7 yards on 1 reception.
Yep, Sammy and Marquise both with fumbles. It's just nothing went right. The whole game went poorly. You saw the writing on the wall pretty much immediately that we were not going to play well, but you just held that hope that we would come up with some bullshit last-second win like we have all year.
Especially when your defense was holding the Dolphins' run game isn't that great, period, first off. But they held them to 60 yards throughout the entire game.
I think Gaskins still might be better than what we have, though.
At this point, right? But they really beat us through the air. But look, what did I say? Lamar had 238 yards. They had a total between 3 QBs, well, really 2 QBs because the third one got sacked. Between 2 QBs, 290 yards, 19 of 36. It's not impressive numbers. There's no reason that we should have lost this game, but our offense could not stay in it, and our defense gave up inopportune situations.
I'm
That's
also
what it
going
came
to
down
throw
to.
in our special team didn't look good either.
Yeah,
Nah, Duvernay wasn't getting his returns like we've seen. I think he had one that was like 8 yards or something like that, and then he had one that was 13 or something. It wasn't his normal.
We're just talking about
average.
the field position battle to start with. I mean, you can only get as many yards as it is to the end zone. And so if you're fumbling the ball on your side of the field or your special teams aren't performing well.
Also, like I said with Sam Cook, he's
Be more tuber says Sam Cook is done.
He's been giving the ball at half field like most of the games.
Fred was drafting the Michigan State punter this week. He was texting me during the game. He's like, "I'll take that punter from Michigan State in the first round or whatever the hell."
Well, Be more tuber, aka Fred, says he could punt further than Sam Cook.
Fred could? No, he couldn't.
No, he couldn't.
But the dude at Michigan State certainly could. He was punting 70-yard bombs.
Drew agrees, says Cook in his final season. Garnett says, I blame the offense more than the defense in that game. Look, it's on both sides. They really struggled on both perspectives. This was a game that was wound up, we didn't think it was a trap game, but it was. It clearly was at this point. And now it's got us scratching. Let's kind of shift our gears a little bit because it's got you kind of scratching your head on what the hell is going to happen in this Sunday against the Bears.
I'll get to the Bears real quick, but I do want to say if Cook's really done and this is his final season, can I get one more passing touchdown out of this man? It's the most memorable thing this guy does. He's got one of the best QB ratings in the history of time. It's like 4 for 4 all touchdowns.
John Goose does say Cook's been done for ever since we let go of Sam Cox.
Yeah,
let go of Cox.
Yeah, it's
Morgan Cox.
We've moved that trio away from each other, and it didn't work out well. But also, he's just aging out of the system. That's all it is there. I am very scared for this weekend. I think there's a lot to be scared of. I think David Montgomery is playing like a man possessed since he come back from that injury.
Got something to prove.
I think he's one of the top running backs in the league. We saw what Cook did to us. All of a sudden, Drew's trade picking up the quarterback for the Bears here doesn't look so bad because he's actually playing football like a real person and not that small child he looked like the first few games.
Well, I mean, look, the Bears are coming off the bye week, right? So they're well rested. We're coming off a tough game. We're a little bit more well rested because we had the longer time period, right? So that's a benefit and a plus on our side. We can get a few more guys healthy. The Bears are coming off 4 straight losses before that bye week, though. But let's list off who they lost to.
All without Montgomery.
Right. They lost to the Packers 24-14. They lost to the Bucs 38-3. They lost to the 49ers 33-22. And their most previous loss was to the Steelers 29-27. But here's the deal. This is where things kind of start to shift gears. And reminds us of us. They put up 21 fourth quarter points in that game.
They sure tried to steal that game. They
almost did.
Tried to get it, and they almost did. 21-24. That's crazy.
They almost did. And that's the thing that's scary. Their wins are over two teams that beat us. The Raiders, they won 20-9. The Bengals, they won 20-17.
We didn't win either of those games, right?
2 teams that handled us.
Yeah.
2 teams that handled us.
Especially with the Raiders game was just abusing our offensive line. That was the biggest thing there. And the Bengals beat us deep constantly. And we can't forget, Justin Fields hasn't played that well. The deep threat's not been there. But they got a sleeping giant over there in Allen Robinson that hasn't done anything during these win streaks. So you got to still make sure that doesn't wake up because a lot of these receivers have been looking good versus us.
Well, and that's the thing. You talked about Fields, right? Fields in the Steelers game alone, 17 of 29, 228 passing, 1 TD, 1 interception. Sacked 3 times, 13 yards. 8 carries for 45 yards. He can scramble, right? He can get those additional first downs. That's what helped keep them in this game. What helped them get even closer to win it was the pick 6 by safety DeAndre Houston Carson. Okay? You got to account for their safeties. You have to account for their cornerbacks, especially if they're coming off blitzes. This team is tied for 7th in pass deflections. So on the front line, let's just look at the front line. Pass deflections, they have 31. 25 sacks. I'm sorry, 25 sacks, which is the 7th. They're behind the Browns, the Rams, the Vikings, each with 29.
This defense has always been fairly good. I mean, you don't have never looked down on it. It's been the offense that can't put up
Khalil
points.
Mack.
Yeah, I mean, like you sold your soul to get Khalil Mack over there.
Robert Quinn, 6 and 6.5 sacks respectively. They lead the way, right? But here's the thing. You also got to look out for the young linebacker in Raquan Smith because this kid flocks to the ball. He leads the team with 54 solo tackles. Next closest is linebacker Alex Ogletree with 31. This kid gets and flocks to the ball. He can chase guys down. He has 93 total tackles. So those other 40 are assists, or 39 are assists. That's impressive. The next closest, by the way, is Ogletree with 41.
It's going to be a long, cold game.
He has double what Ogletree does, right? Yeah, and it's in Chicago.
Yep.
It's going to be cold. How does he handle that, right?
Windy.
The other thing that happened in this game with Raquan Smith that I mentioned, the interception, he had a 53-yard pick six in that game against the Steelers.
We have seen plenty of turnovers on our side. We've been seeing silly mistakes by Lamar, hitting linebackers right in the chest, not seeing him because he's having to do everything there is to do. He's carrying the team. So you're trying to make the big play. You see a lot of comparisons with what Talia's doing with the Terps and Lamar. You end up making big mistakes because you're trying to make big plays.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know that some of you guys are kind of going back and forth out there on some of this stuff. And I think I saw, who was it? Somebody said we need to keep the players that we have. Somebody else, Craig Zero says, I think 11-6 in the end is the end result. Wow, we're gonna get into our predictions here in a few minutes. But I think it's gonna be one of those things that we're gonna have to. You got to watch this isn't a trap game because let's also look at the fact that our offense has had struggles. Our offensive line. If Ben Cleveland can come back, I think you plug him in right away. I think he needs to be in there. I think defensively, you hope that Tavon comes back in this game. You hope that they're able to have coverage. We can get rid of the miscommunications. I don't know what the hell is happening.
You gotta sell out on David Montgomery though. You gotta keep these people. You gotta keep Justin Fields in the pocket, and you gotta stop the running back, or the wide receivers aren't gonna matter because they're gonna eat you alive.
Put Humphrey on Robinson, and the rest of them blitz them.
I just love how everybody's saying, "Oh, I hope Nick Boyle plays and Ben Cleveland's a big help and all that." That's great and all. I don't know about you, but like when I've been out of work, like on vacation stuff like that, when I come back, I'm not the same guy. I have to get back in rhythm because I've been out for a while. Boyle's not going to just come in here and be like, especially on that knee, be 100% like ready to go. Like he hasn't played a full game in almost a year. So you're going to have to think of a miracle for him and Ben Cleveland, that's a rookie, to come in here and stop these Bears.
Yeah, I mean, his preseason starts now, both of them pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Cleveland barely was playing before he got hurt. And now he's back working his way back in, and it's been a very long time since we got Boyle on the field. It is definitely going to take a way to work yourself into game shape.
Yeah, I think the other big thing is I think David kind of alluded to it, or somebody, or who was it? Ahmed, I believe, maybe said something along the lines of that they need to help Lamar out, and it really Abdi Hassan, that they need to help him out. Really, that's what we're talking about. It comes down to play calling. We need to get them up and over it. Go ahead.
Drew said, yeah, and pizza and subs are nothing compared to playing football.
Yeah, football's a lot more harder to scheme, so.
He needs to scheme that meat over there. So let's get into our prime time predictions.
Your scores are not updated on the thing.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, well, mine isn't.
Oh, refresh. I got it. All right. Actually, yeah, you're right. It's not. I will pull that up on our end. All right, so let's get started with the first game of the week that we have. And we'll go ahead and start with the Ravens since that's where we kind of left off. I know we've been kind of going away from that, but we're going to go ahead and go with the Ravens since it's fresh in our minds with this Bears game. We're talking about it What are you looking at as far as predictions here? What do you see the Ravens pulling out the win? Do you see the Bears pulling out the win? Where are you at, Ryan?
I do not see the Ravens pulling this win out. I just see I'm scared of the running game. I think David Montgomery is going to run through this line like it's nothing because that's what they've been the last couple of games. I think that Justin Fields will get his. I don't think it's going to be, that much passing, but maybe he has a couple big plays, maybe the shot to Mooney because the running game is so effective. I can't see it. And maybe it's just because we just watched these bad games. I wish the Ravens were in a better situation. I think they are a much better team. As B. More Tuber pointed out, they have 30% of their roster missing. It's not their fault. Like, that's going to happen in football every now. We saw the 49ers falling apart last year with something similar. That's not that. It's just the way it is. I think that we are a better overall organization, and that we will return this around quickly. But right now, we're going to lose to the Bears. Do you have my final score there?
Your final score on this one, you have this being a win for
the Bears.
The Bears, sorry. I'm literally having to scroll. So you have this being a win for the Bears, 27-24.
27-24.
All right, James, where do you stand on this?
I don't have this as a trap game. I have this as the Bears are going to get a win against us because we're not that good. I'm a realistic. I have told you guys that. I love my Ravens. Got my Ravens gear on. It's just like we're going to Chicago. If it was at home, I feel a little bit better because we do pretty well at home, but we're going to Chicago. The Bears they have nothing to lose anyways, and they have running backs that are a lot better than us, and it's just going to be a tough day out there. So I have it closely 24-21 Bears, and it could get ugly. If the weather's not that good, it could get ugly, and the running attack of the Bears is going to take over, and our defense is what it is. Our linebackers can't cover anybody, so it's going to be a long day.
Well, I got the same score as you, James. I've got it being 24-21, but I have faith. They
have faith in Lamar.
Look, here's the deal. They need
that one. Yep.
They need this. It is Lamar. It's a lot of faith in
I don't know
Lamar.
if you saw, but when Lamar runs and throws, I think there's like a halo over his head because that's what we need.
And let's be honest, part of the loss on this last game was Lamar was checked out. Lamar underestimated this team. Lamar had a big day on Saturday. Congratulations, Lamar. Went up to Louisville, got his jersey retired, was the celebrity of the day. It's only him and Johnny Unitas that have their jerseys retired up there. So I truly believe that this was as big a trap game as possible because the only person winning games for us was already on vacation.
Yeah. Well, look, here's the deal. I think they can pull it out. It's going to be a squeak. The way our defense has been playing, the way the Bears have been going, B. Will's not in there. We know what happens to the run game when B. Will's not in there. And David Montgomery is the type of runner that's going to be able to run through it, and we don't necessarily have the stopgap. Now, the only plus side is the way Owe has been playing. Has been out of his mind. Patrick Queen looked okay this past week. I wish we could get some consistency out of him. But 24-21, I have the Ravens winning. Fred has the Ravens winning as well, 30-24, another close game. So the three of us have it as a 3-point game. Fred's got it more like a 6-point game here. And Drew is going with a 6-point win as well. He has the Ravens winning 23-17.
So same differential, just a little bit lower scoring game.
Yep, just a little bit different. Let's turn our attention to the Thursday night football game where we see the Patriots, who are 6-4 now, go into Atlanta to take on the Falcons, who are now 4-5. I will just say, for sake of time, it's a clean sweep across the board for all of us.
Which, as I just saw for the first time, and every time it's a clean sweep, we're wrong. So put your money on Atlanta. Play the money line. That's going to be some good money out there because everybody else agrees with us too. The Patriots are going to win.
Yeah. The Patriots, Fred's got them winning 27-20. I got it being a blowout at 33-10. Drew has 28-13. Ryan, what do you have?
I got 28-17. I just think that Mac Jones will be too much. That defense is nothing. It's letting the best scorer all the time. They let Tua be the #1 scoring quarterback on a week. Like that's pretty crazy. So even though Mac Jones is just a rookie, there's a lot of talent to go on there. 28-17. I have the Patriots win this.
And it's a clean sweep, but it appears just barely because James, explain your score.
I have this game 21-17. The only reason why is if you look at Matt Jones on the road, he does all right. He gets the job done, but he isn't like what he is at home. I don't know if it's something, getting used to playing all that. But he has played in Atlanta, being at Alabama, so that could be a little bit different. But I just feel like it's going to be a close score. I think Atlanta can put their offense with Patterson. I mean, Cordell, I love him by saying if my mom can work 3 jobs, I can play 3 positions. So I love that in him. But I have it as a close game, 21-17. It's a Thursday night game. And, so that's what it is. So
All right, let's go look at the Sunday night game now. The Steelers, who are 5-3-1. I love to hear that. You tied the worst team in the fucking league in the Dolphins. No matter how bad things were this week, we didn't tie to the worst team in the league. I'm sorry, not the Dolphins.
I'll say we lost to the Dolphins.
I was ahead of myself.
Lions.
No matter
Slightly
the
worse.
Lions.
Which is
No matter
slightly
how
worse
bad
than
our loss,
tying.
no matter how bad our loss is,
and we didn't lose on the road. They lost at home.
Yeah, exactly. So they go on to take on the Chargers in LA. The Chargers are 5-4 now, not the team that everybody thought they were. But again, for sake of time, another clean sweep. Ryan, how did you have this game shaken down?
Yeah, I have it a clean sweep, and I think I have the biggest differential here, at least on a low-scoring game. I have it 24-10 for the Chargers beating the Steelers. Mason Rudolph's your quarterback. Anytime Mason Rudolph's your quarterback, you're going to play terrible. You still got Najee Harris out there, but I don't know that that's going to matter. With Big Ben, even though Big Ben has not playing great, he's been able to make Deontay Johnson, Pat Frymuth valid options on these short routes and pick things apart. But with Rudolph out there, best chance you have is that somebody goes whack-a-mole in your head and gets a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah. At this point, that's all you can do. James, what do you have this score?
I have this Pittsburgh going out to not San Diego, Los Angeles. We had Scott throwing on the Rams playing this game. So
My fault.
I have the Chargers winning this. This is a bounce back. I think they do some new head coach calling. Like, I don't know if you saw, they kicked a field goal when they should try to go for the touchdown, and then they didn't get the ball back on their defense, didn't stop them. So I feel like Herbert's going to have a hell of a game. I have this 31-24. I think J.J. Watts? Not J.J., his brother. The other Watts.
TJ
Watts. I don't think he's playing this game. So I think they're going to have a field day, but being close, 31-24. And hopefully I get some fantasy points out of this guy.
All right. Drew's got it 27-14 in the biggest blowout of all of us. Really close to Ryan's score there. I've got it being 30-21 in favor of the Chargers. I think it's, they're able to handle business. They're going to come in. I think the only reason I'm giving them 21 points for the Steelers is I think that Big Ben is actually going to wind up coming in, and he's going to wind up saving this game or saving grace on this game for them.
So basically, for people that don't know, Big Ben's playing the tour role this week where he's available but not starting. So that's why you're saying he would come in later.
Exactly. And then Fred has this being an extremely close game. Chargers winning and eking it out 24-23. He doesn't have faith in either team. It was probably a coin flip for him on this one.
So Steelers are going to win 24-23, and Fred's going to miss out by that one point pick.
By just picking the wrong one. Man. The last one, Monday Night Football. Giants, 3-6. They're going down to Tampa Bay in that warmer weather. 6-3 Bucks, who've had some struggles with some injuries, but it sounds like some of those injury guys are coming back this week. So who did you have, James, in the Giants and the Bucks?
Well, I'm going to just say on this that all of us have the same teams for all these predictions,
which
except
is
the Bears and Ravens. But the way that
the most boring weekend ever.
No, but the way that the NFL season has been going, all the prediction teams that should win haven't won, so it doesn't surprise me that this game is won by the opposite team. But I have the Bucks rebounding because I don't know if you saw Tom Brady's press conference. He left 2 minutes earlier than he was, and he wasn't too happy about the questions being asked. But I have the Bucks winning 37-27. You got Barkley back. Hopefully, I got this from Drew, this pickup that Barkley can at least get like 2 touchdowns out of this game to get me back in the game for fantasy. But I have the Bucks again, 37-27.
John Gook says Giants winning 23-21. Giants are Brady's kryptonite.
It could happen.
It could very well could happen. Ryan, it looks like you've got the Bucks winning as well. So what's your score and why?
Yeah, 30-17. Giants have been Brady's kryptonite, but that's like in the Super Bowl. That's with a Patriots uniform on. Brady was just embarrassed. And Brady being embarrassed, I picked Brady the next game. I think he's going to probably throw for damn near 500 yards, if not 500 yards. I think he's going to go absolutely off. I could start Prescott over him in the fantasy, but I'm going to roll Brady again. I was wrong last week, but I don't think I'm be wrong this week. He's gonna punish some people. 30-17, probably 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Well, it looks like Drew's along the same lines as you because he's got the Bucks 42-21. Fred's not far behind, 34-13. I'm the one that I guess has it the closest and being a little bit lower scoring game. I think they're going to come back with it, but I do think that the Giants do give them a little bit of a fit early, and then Brady's able to pull away with it late. 24-14 for me in favor of the Bucks. All right, it is time for a social media shout out, and he hits the button already. Don't hit that button again.
Well, I didn't like the primetime prediction up there, so I went back to all my social media shout out people because it's been lighting it up
There's
in the
no
room.
background for it. We gotta leave it.
There's no background for it, but we're gonna go. This social media shout out brought to you by Liquor Stop, guys. You guys have heard us talk about it each and every week. This week's brew of the week is from Anchor Brewing Company. It's getting to be the winter, getting colder months, getting towards the winter. So he hooked us up with their porter, rich, refined, splendidly smooth. It is a little bit lighter, honestly, even for a porter. When you're drinking this, it's 5.6. It's not super heavy. It's honestly, it sounds weird to describe it this way, but it kind of tastes like watered down coffee taste. I'm sorry. It's the easiest way to describe it.
If you like coffee, that must be great. But as somebody that hates coffee, I'm like, no, thank you, please.
You're just not a fan of it. I get it. But that's our brew of the week this week. He also asked me to reach out and let you guys know they have their summer blowout sale going on right now. Just to give you guys a quick shout out to what these deals are. They're right at the front of the store, right in front of the registers. But take a listen to this. A case of Leinenkugel, we talked about that before, $18.97 cash. When you want to get, if you like Press, the alcohol seltzers, right? $18.97 for a case. All right. If you like Tecate, the Mexican beer, $9.97 for an 18-pack. It's a pretty damn good deal. You also have some Blue Moons. He's got some Angry Orchard for a case of Angry Orchard. $19.97. Guys, you can't beat these prices up at Liquor Stop. Make sure you go up to Liquor Stop, 1510 Conowingo Road in Bel Air. Tell them Birdland BS sent you. Get your 10% off. So let's head over to James. James, let's give that social media shout out. No pushing buttons.
No pushing buttons. I also want to say to all the veterans that are out there, we missed you last week. Just want to give you a shout out for all your service and what you do. So that's why I wore my
Ravens military outfit.
My military outfit for you guys. Thank you and bless you for all your services that you do. So let's start off with Chuck. We got David. We got John Googs. Nice seeing you at the game a couple weeks ago. Nick Short, Travis, Justin, Abbott, Garnett, Kamar, Craig Zero, Flock Nation, Joe, Drew, Mark, Bryce, Diggs, 9876, Alex, Jack, Mike, and Balmer YouTuber. So good to see you, or be more YouTuber. Good to see you. I hope you come back next week.
Yeah, back here in this seat right here.
Yeah, be more tuber needs to come back in the seat. Oh man, any good comments that we missed? I know that the comments were flying.
It's been flying. We have a lot of catching up to do. I see some new people in here that have been saying, but like I said, they're all on the same page. We have people saying like Greg Roman is on the short leave after this game. He should definitely be gone. What happened against the Dolphins should never happen to any team like us, especially an organization that we have, to lose to a fucking Dolphin. It's unreal, and not to be able to make adjustments it's just crazy. So that's all we have to say. I want to move on to better things.
Hey, what's up, Red, White, New? Appreciate it, buddy. I know that there's somebody out there that just said it. David Missler, is this a Manning cast game?
That's what I was reading. I was checking. It's Monday night. It is.
It is Monday night. It's a Monday night game. He says he's taking the Giants because it's a Manning cast game, which we're gonna get into that. But I love the Manning cast stuff. I know some people aren't a fan
You
of it.
guys are gonna talk me out of starting Brady. I'm gonna be pissed.
I have him too, so I can't really say much. But no, so we'll kind of really get into that. I'm excited to talk into that. All right, it is time for some shell and tell. You and I haven't done a shell and tell together in a long ass time.
A long time. We got, with Daddy gone, we got to figure out something, right? All right, man. Well, it's shell and tell this week. A little bit more of the same. 2 losses in a row to PSU and MSU. Michigan State and Penn State kind of took care of us, but it was a lot more competitive than it has been. They weren't bad losses.
No, I think for people that are kind of reacting in the sense of like, the buildings burning and get rid of this, get rid of that, they weren't bad losses. This is, especially the Michigan State game, you put up 21 points against the 7th ranked team in the country. And you, for a while, the first half, you actually only had held them to 21 points.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't scoring in the third quarter. We were staying in the shadow of their end zone. We just couldn't get the ball in. We just couldn't, get in for those touchdowns. You look at this early in the year with better players on the field, with Dante Demas, with Deshaun Jones, with your starting running backs in both Famitau and Fleet Davis. Fleet Davis is still available for right now. But we were getting blown out by the Ohio State, by the Iowa, by the people that were ranked right in this range.
Yeah.
And so later in the year, depleted of players, you're actually staying competitive. You were tied in the fourth quarter versus Penn State. You were knocking on the door to be a 6-point game over and over and over again in that third quarter. We just could not get it. We were inside their 30-yard line over and over again to make it a 1-score game and just could not accomplish it.
Now, I'm going to ask a little bit of a dumb question. Could some of the results in those other ranked games be them trying to force the ball to some of those guys that got injured, right? Some of those big names that you aren't here now. They were forcing the ball and not spreading it as much as they probably should have.
I guess maybe no, not really, because the first loss was Iowa, where you lost Demas in the second quarter. We were winning until Demas blows out his knee. So then from there on, it was really more the fact that Talia just got in his head and thought that he'd need to win that game. That game was 100%.
He put on his shoulders.
On his shoulders, and he failed hard. Like, that was his loss. Ohio State, they're just going to be a better team than us. They're going to run away most of the time. That was a terrible performance by our defense. That was the first one that was more on them than it was on us. As the defense got more and more injured, we've lost, I think, 3 out of the top 4 linebackers on the team. That's not going to help a team that's just growing, that's just getting the depth of players that can play these positions. So people are calling for coaches' heads. People are calling for everything, that this is the worst program history time. Like, you can just look around, guys. It's not. There's plenty of teams that have it worse than us. Texas is in an awfully bad spot right now. Kansas is bad every damn year. Like, we're not the worst program. There is progress. If you just look at the box score, these look bad. We got doubled up. We were tied with 3 minutes into the fourth quarter, but yet you look at a score and it says 31-14.
Right.
It doesn't tell the story. So if you're not watching the game, I get why you're pissed off. If you are watching the game and you're pissed off, I'm mad that we can't get over the hump, but I understand that this still shows progress. And we're still early in the build. I believe if we had a full season last year, we would look better at this point, because I do think we're showing we have the talent to be in these games.
Right.
I don't think we have the experience to know how to win. They get scared in these moments. The moments are too big. They make mistakes, whether it be penalties, whether it be interceptions or costly fumbles, and it just doesn't come through.
That was going to be my other question: is how much of it could just be the forced in youth of this team due to injuries, right? You have a lot of younger guys with less experience in and starting and playing. And look, they're doing well, but they just don't know how to adjust, especially for the second half. They're not making as many adjustments. They're struggling at times. How much of that do you think is the youth that's on the field and just that inexperience for this team? That's the reason you're not more competitive against some of these guys.
I think it's more the experience than the youth, because you're seeing a lot of guys that like get their first options in this game, where like the guy in front of them goes down and they play and they look bad, and we're like, oh man, we found the floor of our wide receiver room and we just can't. Carlos Carrier, Marcus Fleming, when they had to step up for the top 2 wide receivers that went down, looked pretty rough. But after that Ohio State game, all of a sudden Carlos Carrier is a big game. Marcus Fleming became consistent. He never really had that blow up, but a pretty consistent option for us. Now, this week we just learned Marcus Fleming's out for the rest of the year. This is just how this season's going. It's very similar to the Ravens. It's kind of disgusting to watch Saturday and Sunday, the same things happening to you over and over again.
How nice though is it too to see, with the injuries, with the guys going down in the wide receiver room, to see the tight end like Chig really kind of stepping up and having some pretty solid games against these opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. Penn State, it was kind of more of a group effort. Chig had a good game, but so did Corey Dyches. Even Baby Gronk, CJ Dupree had a pretty good game. So we actually put out our player of the week that week. We kind of put a choice. Is it Okonkwo or is it the whole tight end room? This week it was very clearly Okonkwo. He had an amazing game. First time over 100 yards for a tight end in, I think it was like 15 years, something like that. It was been a really long time. So he had one hell of a game out there.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I look at, being the novice Terps fan, so to speak, in the room, because I kind of started following a little bit more when you came on, and you were pushing us to do more Terps, and so I was like, all right, I gotta learn more.
I was John Googs.
He was John Googs, exactly.
John Googs doesn't have to complain as much as I did, but I was like, why are you guys just gonna mention the score? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think I was on a plane watching the Michigan State game and just seeing the decision making again from Talia at times. That's something I have always questioned. I continue to question his decision making in stressful situations. He seems. I mean, the interception. Who the hell? You were throwing it right to him.
The interception and both grounding penalties that cost us huge.
Yeah.
Both in the red zone. Like Goog said here, 5 trips to the red zone and only 14 points out of it. That's because you had 2 times, one of which was 1st and goal from inside the 5. That's unacceptable. If you don't come away with at least 3 points there, 7 should be almost mandatory at that point. But if you don't come up with 3 points, 1st and goal inside the 5, you have failed hard. And that's what we did. And that's what we were knocking on the door. That's the thing is, like, when we watched these games earlier, Iowa, I was in the stands till the end, but I certainly didn't want to be. That's my rule. I don't leave early.
You don't leave.
Because if I want to be there celebrating and rubbing wins in people's faces, I got to sit there and eat it when we don't. But the Ohio State game, I was pretty much checked out. Like, the game was over. The Minnesota game, well, TV was on, but we were all having conversations, doing what we want to do. It was over. You were checked out. That wasn't true these last 2 games. I expected to win the game nearly to the end. Like,
you were engaged.
Yeah, completely engaged. Like you said, the tie with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Not only that, when they immediately answered and went up 7, I was like, okay, no problem. We're moving the ball. This isn't an issue. We'll be right there. Like, this will be one of those who's got the ball last type wins. Nope, it ended up looking like a blowout.
Well, when it was like 20-10 at like halftime or somewhere around in there, I forget the exact score, but I was on a plane and I'm sitting there watching on a plane, just sitting there back going, okay, this is like, they're hanging in here.
Yeah, and I knew we had the ball first in the second half. We're like, all you got to do is score here. We could drive all the way down to the 30. It looks like you're going to do it. Nope.
You just needed a little momentum push. That's all you kind of felt like you needed, and it was there. I think it's, to your point, the experience. I asked the youth question just to set it up because I can imagine that there's people out there saying, oh, it's the youth, these guys having to step up. But I think, to your point, it's just really the experience. A lot of these guys weren't here when this team took Ohio State on.
Yeah,
right.
Most of these weren't where you went to overtime versus Ohio State.
Right, but that's
and
what I'm
lost
saying.
on a
Like,
bad pass.
Imagine if more of those guys were in that situation, if they could get over that hump, so to speak, and really even just make the game feel competitive to the last second. If they can get to that point, the push, and if you get the win, the mentality that's going to bring to the locker room is huge.
Yeah, you talk locker room, you're really starting to see a lot of the frustrations bubble over in these losses. These are guys that haven't lost before.
You're seeing some emotion on the sideline.
Yeah, you don't see this. You don't want to. And I'm starting to become more and more. For me, as the fans and what I think the fans should be happy with, if we get 6, no matter which one, then we can start talking, all right, we got to a bowl and look at all these other opportunities we had. We were in it with Penn State. We were in it with Michigan State.
We're just a few pieces away
kind of thing. But the more and more I look at these players, I don't know if that's going to be good enough. I don't know if a Rutgers win is going to stop the mass exodus that the transfer portal now allows. I truly believe that this weekend, as unlikely as it is that we win against Michigan, which I don't think it's likely at all, it almost feels like a must-win for the program.
Somebody up the road at M&T needs to get on a plane and go steal the other Hardball's playbook for us.
I don't know. It just feels like that's the kind of win that will hush the players to say, see, we can take the big dogs down. We are going to be in these games, and then they can look back and see how close we were in these other games. Next year, maybe we can win 2 out of those 3 games that we were close and be at a 7-8 win team. But right now, I've almost switched. Like, for me, I'm happy if we win either one of these next 2 games. But for the future of the program, this weekend, senior night, the last game of the season at home is a big one. So if you can get down there and have a good time, let's try to support these guys. They've been in it these last 2 games. If we have a full packed house and they're in it,
you can make a difference.
We can make a difference.
Yeah, that's gonna be the exciting thing to see if they can really kind of pull that out. Shifting gears over to the team that's doing really well right now.
Yep, it's basketball season. That's what we say when football sucks, right?
Exactly.
Wait till basketball season. So the men's team, yes, they're ranked highly, number 20 men's basketball team now. They came into season 21, so we've moved in the right direction. That's what I always said.
And Shell and Tell is also moving in the right direction. Let's not downplay what you guys got to do. Why don't you share with the viewers and listeners what happened?
Yeah, so one of the listeners of the show was giving away courtside tickets at DC Barno. Big fan, supporter of the Terps. Obviously a big-time donor, get those kind of seats sitting courtside. And he put out a tweet, let me know if you wanted to go to the game. Most time he gives it to, young kids, go to the first game, that kind of thing. But I just put it out there. I didn't know who he usually gives it to. What I just said, yes, please, yes. That's all I did. That was it. And he hit us up and said, you guys do a great job promoting the Terps with common sense takes. Love what you guys do. The tickets are yours. So myself and Fred got to go down, sit courtside. It was the exhibition match. The stadium was a little empty, but didn't change my experience one iota. You see this picture behind us. These feet, those feet are my feet and Fred's feet touching that floor. That's what that is. So those were our seats, and it was amazing to see these guys up close and personal. Fats Russell is an unbelievable talent.
How short did you feel?
How short did I feel? Well, I felt great because Fats was on the court. He's listed at 5'11". The bro's 5'9". but he lives above the rim. The dude's on springs. I don't understand. If you could go into a game this year, please show up early. Please see pregame warmups because a lot of these guys can fly, and Fats is worth the price of admission alone to watch this man. He just wants to show off. He's doing between the legs dunk, windmill dunks, all this craziness. He lost one between legs, and he threw it probably 40 feet into the stands.
You didn't go retrieve the ball?
But yeah, it was an amazing time. Thank you so much. I can't wait till Fred gets back here so he can tell you guys about it as well. We had a good time. Went down there, the Marathon Deli down on Route 1. Great spot. There was good food and had a good time.
Oh, that's good. I mean, you got to see a pretty decent game too, with them really kind of coming away with it. Were there any standouts to you that kind of got your attention outside of Fats?
Yeah, like I said, Fats is crazy fast, high motor, stays on the floor all the time. He's going to get some sneaky steals. He's like fed 5'9", 5'11", whatever you want to call him, and he has blocks on the year already because nobody thinks that it's going to be a problem to shoot over this guy. Like you can't be playing this man at 6'5" and be like, oh, he's going to block my shot. No, but he's going to block your shot if you get lazy. So he's had a couple of those. Quotas Wahab. He just looked really big. I wasn't super impressed in the game that we went to, but I have been very impressed since then. But a lot of the problem is that this team didn't have a center last year. They didn't know how to get the ball
Georgetown,
in.
right?
Yeah, he's a Georgetown transfer. Fats was also a transfer from Rhode Island. Ian Martinez is a transfer from Utah. He looks really good as a backup point. He's running the ball pretty well, but it's not quite as deep a rotation as Fred and I thought. It never is. I said that the whole time. I was like, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. I think you got about 7 here. I'm hoping we get to 8 by the time March rolls around. But the biggest person I saw was Julian Reese. This is the biggest damn 18-year-old I've seen since LeBron James. This dude is a giant. His lower half's bigger than Quotas or Dante Scott's. He needs to fill out a little bit up top, but still pretty big guy. He had blocks in his first game. You can tell he's like used to being the biggest, baddest thing on the court, and so he was getting fouled pretty hard. That's what happens when you play an exhibition game against somebody that's not supposed to be there. Yeah. They're going to be chippy. That's the only chance they have is to hope that the refs let them get away with some stuff to stay even. Like, that's just the way it is. So you can see him. He could get a little hot-headed here and there, but he was very coachable. I saw Dante. He got the ball poked away underneath, and Dante was just kind of coaching him up, like elbows up, get your back. And he was very cool. I think this guy's got a big future. I don't know how long that future is going to be at Maryland because this is an NBA player, barring any craziness. This man will be playing on the big court. And
you mentioned something, we briefly talked about this a little bit pre-show. You mentioned something with James Graham that had your attention.
Yeah, so James Graham, he played in the exhibition that we were at, but then after the first game, he was apparently very upset about his playing time. Nothing's came out exactly public of what went down, but based on all the rumors, all the hearsay, all everything, sounds like he went off the rails a little bit, yelling at coaches about the lack of playing time, and Turgeon wasn't having it. And Turgeon basically said, you're suspended, go chill out, we'll talk on this date, and if you still feel like being a part of this team, we'll work on it. So that meeting has happened. He supposedly did make well on everything. He is back with the team. He could have very easily entered the transfer portal like everybody else. So hopefully this is a one-time mishap.
Is this a sign of too much backdoor wheeling deal? I mean, did we see this with the Twins, right, where the Twins were griping publicly about playing time, and
that was my very first thought when this happened. Was this is Mitchell Twins 2.0, and I'm like, why are we getting into this? It's actually
elevated because he got, maybe sounds like physical or verbal or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much it was, but it could have just been, just insubordination, just saying things that you shouldn't be saying. But
it was enough to be suspended. They didn't do that with the Mitchell Twins.
True, but it also could be the fact that Turge learned and said that I let that Mitchell Twins situation get way out of hand, because the story was with the Twins was that it was players like getting in their face about it and telling them we can't have that around here, this, that, and the other. There was never a story about Turge putting his foot down on that. And it very well could have happened, but I never heard any stories about it. It was more of the locker rooms taking care of this, and that didn't work.
And nothing was ever made public.
Yeah. So maybe that he realized, even though without a suspension, it still became public what the Twins were doing. It still became a big problem. So why not just suspend him, stay quiet about why, and just be like, that's our problem, and see if we can get ahead of this. Hopefully it works out. He's available for the George Mason game tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. they'll be playing George Mason, Wednesday the 17th. They're 3 in a row right now, number 20 team in the country. Again, they have a lot of new faces, a lot of new people. Congratulations to Daryl Morcell for taking down Illinois this week with his new team. Marquette, I guess he's playing for. Feels gross watching you in another uniform, but congratulations for taking down Illinois. Now, they did not have the McDonald's lawsuit. Coffee Cockburn was not playing because of his suspension for selling his goods or whatever, uniforms, things like that, a month before he was allowed to do so, which was a little stupid not to wait that month. When we first talked about that problem, we said that wouldn't matter. They weren't playing anyone they would lose to. We were wrong. They played Marquette and they lost to them. So him selling his items cost them an L, so that sucks.
Yeah. I'll tell you one team that doesn't want to have very many L's, if any, this year is the Lady Terps.
Yeah, I mean, they were the number 1 scoring team last year, had a shocking exit where they just somehow stopped scoring all of a sudden. They were averaging like 95 points a game, and they scored like 40 in that. It was unbelievable that just the drop-off, couldn't hit a shot, but that's not the case this year. They are currently ranked, I think it's number 4. No, it's number 3 now.
But they also returned like most of their players.
So they had the same as everybody else's option, the COVID return. And you know how Minnesota returned all of their players, and that's why their offensive line bullied the shit out of us, because they're all 35? Well, Maryland's women's basketball team is the version of that. They brought back everybody for another title run.
And they
took it personally.
Didn't they pick up Julian's sister?
Yes, Julian's sister, Angel Reese, who might be as good as some of the starters from last year. This girl, again, that family might be one of the most talented families I've ever seen in my life. I saw them at the game supporting the brother. She was actually hanging out with Dante Demas down there at courtside. I don't know if they went to school together or what, but it was interesting. Dante all posted up with his hurt leg. I wish he was still out on the field for us.
Yeah.
So I expect really big things. You won't know anything about this basketball women's season for a long time, because I'll be surprised if you have any losses. This is going to be a team that the year will be judged on championships, whether it be Big Ten regular season is the bar minimum, the Big Ten tournament, and then the NCAA tournament is where they really start getting judged. Because if you don't show up as a 1 or 2 seed in the tournament, this team has failed.
Yeah, especially with this team being a powerhouse over the past several years, right?
Yeah, Brenda Free is one of the best coaches in the history of basketball, not just women's basketball.
Exactly, and she's the women's version of what we want Terps to be. She can coach. She has the people around her to help her coach. She can recruit like hell because she's got a winning organization or a winning team. And those Lady Terps really trust in her. They know that she's got their best interest at heart, and they play like a team, right? And it's maybe because there's less coverage of the women's basketball and Lady Terps, but you don't hear of these playing time problems. It seems to be a team. The fact that you brought back all of your ladies from last year, and nobody's worried about, I wanted more playing time, so I'm going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, but winning also cures all things, and that's what even the Ravens or even the Terps football team, everything was going just fine at 4-0. Everything was pretty okay after the Indiana win. But two more losses in a row, and all of a sudden things are falling apart. The sky is falling. So
fair enough.
Though the Lady Terps don't lose very often to start getting angry.
Yeah. All right, we said it. It's making a comeback for just this week. It's time for some bros, bows, and O's, and it's really just a gripe session about some awards that they did get and some awards they didn't get. Ceddy Mo. First off, Ceddy Donahue, buddy, he gets a Louisville Slugger Silver Slugger Award for center fielder in the outfield. Great award. He absolutely deserved it. First 30 for 30 in Orioles history. Played really, really well. I think the big frustration, as exciting as this is with his numbers that he put up offensively, he was great defensively as well. How was he not in the talks for the MVP voting in the finalists, right? It's because they were a losing franchise. That's what's annoying. That's what sucks. There were several guys that locally, writers in the Baseball Writers Association, they're the ones that go through and present the awards for MVP, Rookie of the Year. He was apparently reportedly 7th, 8th on most ballots, which just baffles my mind with the year that he had compared to some of these other guys. It's one of those things that it's sad. You are happy that he does get the recognition with the Silver Slugger Award. As Chuck said, Fred's son got a trophy. It definitely is nice to hear, nice to see. But the bigger and more frustrating surprise, Ryan Mountcastle wound up ending 6th in voting for AL Rookie of the Year. Now, this kid was given the MLB Player Association. The players said that this was the most outstanding rookie in the AL. He won that already. How is he not one of the top guys in the AL convo from the Writers Association? Because the Writers Association is a bunch of old jackoffs that just want to see if a guy passes the eye test. And let's be honest, early in the season, he had some struggles. But minus those struggles, he came out and led. He led all American League rookies with 33 home runs this past year. Tell me how a guy who led all rookies isn't in the conversation for Rookie of the Year.
It's the same reason we don't get anybody in the All-Star game with these seasons. You know, it's the same reason that we can't get these guys recognition all year round. The Orioles are never a big market team and are overlooked because of everyone else in the AL East. And this year and many years past, certainly with losing constantly, it's going to be a problem. I don't deal with the baseball stuff very well. I don't like a lot of the things they go with. I don't understand how someone that played last year is still a rookie getting Rookie of the Year. I understand the rule. Like, I know what it is. I just hate the rule.
Yeah.
Like, your first year in the big leagues, you're a rookie. I don't give a shit about your number of games. It's not your first year.
To your point, Randy Rosarena, he made his debut in September, the early call up, and actually I think it was late August, early September last year. He made that call up, or actually they brought him in August when the season almost started because the rookie status stayed intact last year. We didn't bring Mountcastle up till later, but we see him wind up getting Rookie of the Year despite having much more experience last year over some of these other guys like Evander Franco, who was in the top 3, like Orion Mountcastle. I just think it's absolutely robbed, and both him and Ceddy being robbed, but being included in the MLB. You know, everybody's saying, "Oh, they're on the ballot for the All MLB team." That's a fan voted team. I don't know that national media. Maybe Ceddy Mull's got enough attention national media wise with the Silver Slugger Award, with the steals and the home runs. I think maybe he has a shot here in this situation in the All MLB team. I
hopefully they do. I mean, in
does.
football, that's the thing that matters, right? It's the Pro Bowl is nothing. It's the All Pro team. So I'm assuming baseball is very similar. You're being recognized for what actually happened. So hopefully that they can get recognized for that.
Well, that's the frustrating part, though, is if they are, how do you have not only the Players Association recognize a guy like Mountcastle, then maybe the fans of vote him in as well. So everybody except for the guys that are the biggest critics of the game, the biggest jagoffs of the game, everybody except for you guys is saying this piece of information, and you just no.
You don't got to convince me the old guys club of baseball is broken. That's one of the banging drums that I got. But it is really nice to see that we got these 2 young talents, and that Adley Rushman on the minor league level was also given a Gold Glove.
Yes.
Which again, we got so many awards in baseball. Who knows? But that sounds really good, and I'm glad that he's a young, awesome talent. That hopefully someday we can get all this talent playing together in the same place and actually watch some winning baseball, because baseball doesn't really do it for me, but losing baseball makes me fall asleep.
Yeah. Well, winning baseball has been happening down at Bowie, and if you haven't been paying attention to their Twitter, pay attention to Twitter. We've retweeted some stuff. They've tagged us.
Bowie has certainly been the most fun I've had this year, the games that we've went to.
The games we went to, they were exciting. They were fun. They keep it interesting, and they're competitive. They went into the playoffs this year for minor league baseball, so credit to them and everything they've done. And credit really is rewarded in this season, because the Orioles, a few months back, or about a month and a half ago, they fired hitting coach Don Long, which is crazy, considering this guy also was the hitting coach for the 2 guys that won awards and led in their respective categories. Okay, fine. But they tabbed Ryan Fuller and Matt Borgelschlut as the 2 new hitting coaches to replace Don Long. Now, Fuller was this year's past hitting coach down at Bowie, right? Which is good, because this team was able to put up rooms. Exactly. You're having these guys grow. Here's what I'm hoping this tells me. They've cleared off the 40-man, or normally a roster, your active roster, 40-man. Your player roster every day is 25. So you've got that buffer of 15. It's kind of, you look at it as a taxi squad kind of thing. Here's the thing. With you bringing up Ryan Fuller and then bringing in an additional hitting coach that was a AAA hitting coach for the Twins, that tells me that I have a feeling you're going to see some of these guys in AA get a true shot in spring training.
Well, I would agree with you with the AA Bowie hire. I don't know that the AAA coach makes that any more realistic of an option, but with you're obviously
this year was Fuller's first full year as a hitting coach. So he's had 1 year of things to look at. This other coach has had multiple years to look at.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
I just think that you're looking at this, and instead of learning something one way and changing and learning something another way, I think they're looking at this consistency of bringing up the coaches that have been coaching up your future talent, letting them stay, learning that same system, learning that same way. Obviously, a lot of these things are being put into the analytics of the game and being taught exactly how Elias wants them to be
Which
taught.
tells me Fuller was on board.
That's why he was following the exact analytic option that he wanted. And so he is going to be brought up to continue that. And consistency is key in everything in life. So hopefully these guys that were doing well in the minor leagues continue to do well. We saw it with a lot of our guys. Every time they bumped up, they consistently, they had that little dip, but they caught right back up to where they were. Didn't see anybody really maxed out on ceiling. So again, I don't know that anyone's going to really be breaking with the team next year with the dooming strike looming. But once the baseball strike does or doesn't happen, you're going to see a lot of boys from Bowie.
All right, it is time for the rundown. So for this week's rundown, we're going to catch up on a few quick topics. We're going to very quick hit these, but there is one or two that we do want to talk about for an extra minute or so. So let's start. We kind of alluded to it earlier. The Atlanta Braves are the 2021 World Series champions. They win it in 6 over the Astros. Credit to Trevor Plouffe. I told you guys about this pre-show. Trevor Plouffe, former pitcher for the Twins, actually. He preseason, he's John Boy Media. They're great if you're ever looking for something additional baseball wise. You love their breakdown of the videos of the umpires throwing ejections out and stuff like that. But he predicted at the beginning of the season, he predicted the Braves would beat the Astros in 6 at the beginning of the season. So if he would have put $1,000 down on that, he would have won over $30 million, which is just crazy to think. But he already has money, so he doesn't need it, to your point. But this game, this series was great. The last game, the bomb by Soler to open up the scoring. Braves really just kind of cruised from there. After that, they were on cruise control. The Astros realized they were screwed and done. Tyler Matzik, he was almost arrested walking outside or walking inside the parade, which was funny because this team, the Atlanta Braves, didn't even know, their town didn't even know who their players were or what they looked like. They almost arrested. They thought he had hopped the fence and was walking with the parade route. It's crazy to see. Odell Beckham.
Yeah, Odell Beckham's off ruining another team ever since his shot of them partying in Miami on the bye week with all his Giants boys. It's been all downhill for him. Went and took out Cleveland for a few years, forced his way out of there, and woke up on a 7-1 winning dominant team. And very first week they get their butts kicked by the 49ers, and they have lost their number 2 wide receiver in Robert Woods for the year. So the curse that is Odell Beckham Jr. continues. I am interested to see it can continue. Unfortunately, it has tanked my fantasy team that was starting Matthew Stafford. So fuck you, OBJ.
Well, he did have he had 17 receptions. I know obviously the injury, but 0 TDs on 17 receptions for the Browns this season. What did the Rams really expect out of a guy?
Don't forget Von Miller's there too, and they had 0 draft picks.
Yeah, and what?
Well, the Rams were trying to go. It looked like they were trying to go all in at this point.
Oh, they're all in.
Why does anyone want OBJ by himself, and then you bring a dad into this situation like it's the damn Lamar or where was the NBA family, whatever the hell that douchebag's name was. The dad doesn't need to be here. He's an adult. He's a grown-ass player. He's a veteran player. No dad needs to be involved in any negotiations. So I don't know why anyone wanted this headache of a player. There's plenty of rookies coming out that are more talented than Odell Beckham Jr. So best of luck, Rams, but I think you just made a real big mistake.
Speaking of guys that maybe were talented and have recently shown that they aren't. Cam Newton, he's back with the Panthers, where it all started.
Yep, who knows? That might actually work, though.
It looked decent. I'll give him that.
First touch was a touchdown. I'm back.
Exactly. So it's just crazy to see there. Speaking of crazy, what happens in Vegas? To Fred's point, it goes viral and will end your career.
A lot of bad things going on in Vegas. Nothing worse than the Henry Ruggs situation. 157 mile per hour intoxicated crash of his Corvette. This guy got drunk at a Top Golf, decided he didn't have enough money for an Uber because, you know, these wide receivers drafted in the first round are real broke. They can't afford a $40 Uber.
Or make a phone call in the back of their player card.
Yeah, or have anyone pick them up for free from the league, or any of their other players that were all nearby, probably in stretch limos, doing whatever they felt to do. Instead, he got in his car, decided to drive 157 miles per hour, and somehow, because the world's unfair, walks out of his Corvette to watch the other person burn alive with their dog in the car. So yeah,
and
that's how life works.
People are blaming the fire department and the timing. And yeah, the timing and how long it took the fire department to get there was absolutely horrible. But he still was in the situation. He's still in the driver's seat. Who's to say? Nobody knows at this point if this woman would have survived her injuries or succumbed to any injuries. We don't know what. I haven't heard the coroner's report or anything of what injuries she's had. It's enough that he's been charged. His career is over, potentially, depending on the outcome and the charges. I believe one of them was vehicular manslaughter because it was incidental, but it was DUI, so he gets that charge. I mean, he
gun charge.
The gun charge as well. He had a loaded gun. There was one in the chamber. Just everything here. It just screams problems. And you know, look, Derek Carr was trying to say, look, you got to come out and just be there for him as a person, regardless. But look, you got to deal with your choices, man. You have to deal with your choices. You made the choice. You have all the money in the world to not have to worry about this, not have to do it, not have to go, do I have enough money to afford an Uber? You don't have to do that.
And I'm going to bring up an old wound. We were talking a little bit before the game, but this just shows the reactionary culture because everybody wants to sit here and drag Ruggs for making a really stupid decision. And they should. This dude made an asshole move, shouldn't have done any of the things he did, and it cost a woman her life. But we're also sitting here with Tiger Woods, who did all of the same things. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. He's already got a DUI for falling asleep on the side of the road earlier in his career. He then has a single car accident by himself going 90 miles an hour off the side of a cliff. The dude was high as balls again, whether it was painkillers or alcohol, and he drove a car, which is an unacceptable decision. The only difference is he drove off a cliff and ruined his life. So everybody goes, oh, poor baby Tiger Woods. No, he's exactly as guilty as Ruggs. He got dumb lucky that nobody else died, and somehow we let him off the hook. So please, whenever he digs himself out of this hole and becomes a public figure again, can we recognize that this guy has been nothing but problems? He's a great golfer. Great golfer. He's a terrible human being.
Yeah, John Goose says he's at least getting 25. Don't Stallworth kill someone while drinking, only get 30 days. I forget what the whole story was there, William. There's a lot going on here. But
the thing about the Stallworth thing was he was like barely he was almost sober, but the guy wasn't even like in a crosswalk. He just cut through a street, so he had no time to really react. So that
came out of nowhere kind of thing.
Yeah, so
and then they settled out of court, and then he was he served like 30 days, like he said, but also he was his license was taken away forever. He can't drive a vehicle ever again.
So with Stallworth, there wasn't
he can't legally drive a vehicle.
There wasn't speeding issues. The alcohol speeding is still a problem. Drunk is drunk, but Ruggs was over double the legal limit. It was not even close, and it was not 157 miles an hour sober. You can still get vehicular manslaughter. So he's on a whole nother level with this. Of course, again, that ended up in the same scenario. You took somebody's life. You got unlucky. You know, all just because Tiger got lucky twice that it didn't happen.
But also
we all
this
pretend
has
nothing
happened
happened.
In the NFL. I forget. He played for the Rams, St. Louis Rams, and apparently he had 2 DUIs where he actually killed somebody in the first one, and then it got another DUI and didn't serve any jail time.
We just talked about Cam Newton. Cam Newton flipped his truck going over 100 miles an hour right next to the stadium downtown. I mean, he wasn't drunk, I don't think. Or, you know, probably the cops just didn't give him a breathalyzer because they didn't want their star quarterback in Charlotte getting something. But he flipped his truck going over 100 miles an hour.
Well, but that's not the only problem in Vegas, right? Because following that, you get Damon Arnett with guns and death threats on social media. He's cut from the team. He's facing charges on a hit and run from last season already. Like,
You're
Come on.
pulling guns on people in the locker room, Wizard style, as we look forward to our next topic of the Wizards being an actual basketball team all of a sudden. How'd this happen?
Yeah, 10-3 on the season. Look, they lost their first 2 games in November to the Hawks and the Raptors. They've now beat the Grizzlies at home. They've beat the Bucks at home. They've beat the Cavs on the road. They beat Magic on the road, and they beat the Pelicans, right? The 2 of the 3 losses were to top-tier teams, especially the Raptors and the Hawks, who were both in the postseason last year, right? And expected to do well. And this year, the other loss that they had was to the Nets, which everybody loves how the Nets have been looking. All these teams are top-tier teams in the league right now. So it's impressive. They're playing much better on a team defense than we've seen in the past. They're not relying on Bradley Beal to carry them every single night. Kuzma looks like a change in scenery has really helped him in this game. They're a unit, right? And that's what you want. You want them to play. Here's my one thing. We've been here before with the Wizards. Early in the season, looking good. Injuries and inconsistency are what happened. Temper expectations a little bit. It's an 82-game season. We're 13 games in.
I'm still going to see the game.
You can. That's fine. I'm excited. It's great, especially with the wins. But my temper the expectations is think about what I just said. When you go against difficult teams, they're struggling as of this moment. Are they going to be good enough to get into the playoffs? Winning
a playoff game is a huge step in the right direction for this program. So lowered expectations, sure, but it should be fun to watch.
Yeah. Quick sad MLB news. Former Red Sox Brave shortstop. He played like 5 different teams. I think he started with Tampa Bay, then he was with Houston. He won the championship with the Red Sox as the shortstop. But Julio Lugo passed away at 46 years old. No reports on exactly the cause of death here.
They say a heart attack.
Was it a heart attack? I mean, I hadn't seen anything on the coroner's report or anything. So if that's the case, then, young guy, passing away early, that absolutely sucks. You hope that there's nothing else involved there, from a standpoint of any other medical situation that's going on. And if it's a heart attack still, I mean, heart attack at 46 for a guy that just a few years ago was just maybe a little bit bigger than me. Not that big, not that many health problems that we were aware of. So they caught the family off guard from everything I was reading. So just really sad to hear that. Sticking with baseball for the last thing.
I don't know why this is news. Somebody's talking trash about a Yankee. We got to talk about that.
Carlos Correa, who's an Astro. Right, he was on Facebook Live show called Me Gustan los Deportes, and that stands for I love sports. He said that Derek Jeter did not deserve, quote unquote, deserve any of his 5 Gold Gloves. Now, this has been controversy throughout the year because Derek Jeter he did have issues with errors in his career. He averaged about 12 errors a season, which. It's kind of high for shortstop. I think shortstops rank, he's like 16th. As far as guys in the Hall of Fame, it's like 76th for overall. His fielding was rough with errors. He did have a career fielding percentage of .976. Still pretty impressive, right? 254 errors total across 12 seasons. Again, 12 per year. He was defensively average, but here's the deal. Think back, if I say Derek Jeter defensively, you're not a big baseball fan, but you did grow up in the late 90s, early 2000s with me. We both played baseball. You watched, I'm sure, some of it back then. When you think of Derek Jeter, what do you think of?
I think of the only non-hated Yankee in the history. Well, and Mariano Rivera, I guess, is up there also.
But if you think about it, like if I were to ask you to play a highlight reel of Derek Jeter, you're going to be thinking about the plays in the hole, deep in the hole, the jump throws
beautiful
from the
double
hole.
Plays, the deep, the Manny-like one-handed picks.
How about the 2001 where he does the play at the plate, cuts it off because it's not going, he flips it back and boom, gets the out, right?
Yeah.
The play at the plate. Everybody remembers that.
He had big-time plays in big situations, and that's how you got your Gold Gloves, is because everyone saw all your big plays.
Right. You also, you had the errors, but there was also the risk. How many other players couldn't have gotten to that ball. There's a reason
To make the hard throw, to have a throwing error.
his offensive WAR, wins above replacement, was 93. His defensive wins above replacement was -9. It definitely struggled. But at the same time, overall, he was the captain. He was the player. I understand he had defensive struggles, but he also had that shock and awe factor. Think about Jalen Ramsey, risk versus reward. We've talked about that. He was able to cover more ground, and if you're throwing and making those jump throws, you're probably going to make a few errors every once in a while. How many of them may have been a throw in the dirt that maybe the first baseman should have scooped?
Yep.
And I tell you what, being in New York and being all those years playing for the Yankees and being squeaky clean, he's got my vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck at Me Gusta Los Deportes stands for I love sports. I think it translates too, because that would be Spanish.
Well, it translates too. Yes. Yes, whatever. You know what I meant. It's time for the 2-minute warning now. No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
Squeaky clean gang signs.
That was perfect, man. That was perfect timing. Oh, man. All right. This week, 2-minute warning. James, you're the only one here, so you better be asking the questions. I don't know who the hell else is at this point.
That's me.
All right.
So with
You're going first? All right. Ryan's going first.
All right. So with the NFL now coming in, do you think COVID fines versus uniform fines are equal or need to be changed?
So this question comes up apparently because they fined Aaron Rodgers less money for all of his COVID violations than the uniforms for CeeDee Lamb.
14 grand versus 20 grand.
That's pretty insane. Let's all be honest. The NFL was complicit with Aaron Rodgers. They knew his vaccination status. They allowed all the things that were going on with Aaron Rodgers. They allowed him to interview in person for this thing. So that's why his fine was lower, is they should have fined them damn selves. But no, obviously it should be higher than the uniforms.
Yes, I 100% agree. This is a no-brainer. This is the penalties of the NFL, period, not just the fines. The inconsistency. This Roger Goodell gets to do whatever he wants and make the decision on the fines, and he's involved in all those decisions, supposedly. It's ridiculous. There needs to be consistency, not just in these two situations, but just in every situation across the board.
All right, and the last one is, what sport bucket list item were you happiest to be a part of?
Well, you know me, so both mine are Terps. My top 5 are all Terps. But this courtside seats that just happened, honestly, is in it. Thank you very much, DC Barno. It's not something you can buy, so I had no control over whether it was going to happen for me. I don't have that kind of donor money to get to that point. So that was awesome. But the coolest thing ever was I got to meet Juan Dixon by random chance walking out with his Final Four trophy from Cole Fieldhouse because I was just walking through campus. 100% the coolest part of my life.
Cool shit right there. That's awesome. I'm actually surprised that you didn't say being on national television this weekend. We'll talk about that in the after hours.
Sounds good. Fred won't like me talking about it, so we'll do after hours.
But the other thing that for me, I think it's look, Cal was a great situation, but after so many losing years in Baltimore, that 2014 season when they won the division, to see live and in person Nick Markakis out there, Adam Jones running around high-fiving, Tommy Hunter trying to throw beers into the stands. It was just great to see, great to be a part of.
Googs is talking future bucket list sports Hall of Fames. We'll definitely do that in the after hours, so stick around with us.
And just also anybody else that has some good bucket list stories, just put them in the comments. I'd love to hear it and put some out there.
Yeah. All right, we're going to stay tuned for the after hours. Going to do a short little after hours segment, talk about a few quick things before we get out of here for the evening. But we appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week on all of our social media platforms to watch the show live. But you can also check us out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, you can get yourself some Birdland BS gear. You got to check out the latest episodes of Shell and Tell. Ryan, I think you said you're going to be putting a new one out here probably later this week.
Yeah, well, I might be putting this one out if Fred doesn't get better and be able to talk to me. But we've been weekly all the time with Shell and Tell, so check it out. We'll be one every week in your mailbox.
And hit us up all on our our social media tags. Find us on all of our social media sites. It's all linked on our website. You can get to each of our pages. Give Fred some well wishes so he can get better and be back here next week, and hopefully sooner rather than later. And help
nobody
Ryan
wants to see me in this seat next week, so get better, boss.
Get better here, man. We appreciate you guys also sharing and liking and following, commenting each and every week. I saw 100 comments going through this week as we were going through. Make sure you also send us over an email or message one of us if you got a topic you want to have talk about on the show. Bring it up. We try to give you guys credit when we can. We try to bring it up and work it in. Sometimes they don't work themselves in, so it's just hard. But definitely, get it to us. We are always looking for content, is what I'm trying to say. That's the easiest way to put it there. Make sure you check us out on BigPlay.com and BirdlandSports.com as well. We're linked there, and make sure that you also, when you're on YouTube, hit that bell, get the notifications. We're trying to get our YouTube subscribers up, so make sure that you're sharing there as well to help us grow that channel. If you are already following there, if you have a Gmail account, it's super easy. You can go straight over to YouTube from that account. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. For Fred, who's sick, for Drew, who's taking care of a little kid who's sick, for Ryan over here in the big boy chair, and James over in the producer chair, we'll see you guys next week. It's last call for alcohol. It's time for the after party.
It is time for the after party. I was explaining to Father what was going wrong in this show. That's what I'm doing over here, but I guess I could talk to him in a couple minutes.
What is he? Would we do something wrong?
No, just me. You did a spot show.
Oh gosh.
He hit me up during the baseball section and told me to wake up, but I had some other stuff going on I was trying to take care of because I could barely breathe trying to talking to this mic over here.
Oh man. Well, Kaylee says great job for filling in for Fred. Let's see. John Googs, I'm not a PSU fan, but man, whiteouts.
So we talked at the Penn State game. He came over, met up with us at our tailgate, had a good time. But yes, if Maryland ever plays Penn State in a whiteout, which means Maryland will have to get better in order to be Penn State's whiteout opponent, because they will have to be a big game on Penn State's schedule, then I will pay whatever that ticket is to be there, because that Penn State whiteout is impressive as all hell, and I would love to be that one little red dot sitting somewhere in that stadium taking it in.
Yeah.
You might be there with your 17-year-old daughters by then.
That's fine as long as I get there someday, man. I don't know. We'll have to see. Like I said, there's a lot of things moving around in the Terps world right now. I see improvement, but it could all fall apart. We could be back to square one, just like that. Two more losses. I don't see good things for us.
David says, "What do y'all think about the NFL considering expanding to 40 teams?" John Gook says, "Sounds dumb." So does is that Lucy?
Yeah.
Or Lacey? Lacey Hodges. I haven't seen your name before, so I appreciate it. But no, I think that's it doesn't sound very smart in my opinion. If you're going to add it, I guess maybe strategically, since you're going to longer games, if you add them strategically to one team to each division, and you're making those divisions where the division games are closer, right? So you keep the travel a little bit tighter, and you get rid of the travel cross country crap.
I'm still waiting for him to fix the Thursday night games. I feel like it was Jim Rome that came up with the solution. I think I might be giving credit to the wrong guy, but the best solution to the Thursday night games I've ever heard was to give the 4-team division a bye week, and then their next game is a double header. All 4 teams play on Thursday night in 2 games. So then you have a bunch of days off before and over 7 days off after. And it's a genius solution, and I don't know why they haven't brought
NFL.
it in. It works perfectly. I think it'll probably be, in one of whenever the collective bargaining agreement gets ugly about the player safety issue of it being 5 days after your last game, they'll bust that out and they won't use it until they have to.
Yeah.
One of the teams that could possibly will get a team is going to be St. Louis.
St. Louis been whining and complaining for a long time about everything.
No, there's a lot going on. There's
about
like a
the
lawsuit
illegal,
and the owner of Walmart that moved his team to L.A., which is now a mess.
We don't speak poorly of Walmart in this house.
Yeah, well, Lacey says hats forward or backwards. I guess because we're usually have both hats backwards.
Sorry, I've never been a backwards hat guy my whole life. I've had a lot of bad hair
He doesn't
and
get
hat
with
choices.
the program on the show.
Speaking of bad hair choices, let's talk about what you're talking about in the national media coverage.
National media coverage. Share the story.
So yeah, I was watching the game this weekend in Michigan State, and Maryland's been bad for a long time. So they tried to show a highlight of last time we beat a top 10 team. So we were playing a top 10 team. Well, that was 2007. Your boy was 19 years old, freshman in college, and
Shaggy.
and
was your name?
I thought I was like a beach bum. That was my go-to at that point in life. I was trying to find myself. It wasn't working. And so anyway, they showed 4 pictures, and one of those pictures was me and the starting quarterback, pretty much exclusively. Like 80% of the screen was me and the starting quarterback during a field rush. I've seen a quick clip of that moment where it was just me and the quarterback in a video footage. I've never seen the professional still photo that they put on the screen there. I thought it was really awesome. I'm totally gonna I've tried this in the past to get a cool image that I wanted for the Terps and Rando Den. It wasn't even of me. So I will probably never be able to find out who owns this photo, but I want it, and I would love to hang that up in the future Shell and Tell studios.
Lacey says backwards is silly. Backwards is not silly when you're fans of Ken Griffey Jr., as Fred and I were growing up. The kid made it cool. It was the way to go. I truthfully don't always wear it backwards, but I do wear it backwards a lot just because it's what I was there.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I used to wear a visor when I was younger, so I mean I made lots of bad hat decisions.
So Lacey says in the cartoon both hats are backwards. So
that's because that's Fred. This is Ryan, the fill-in. Fred is 100% backwards, not only during the show,
all the time,
all of his life. If 80% of the time he has a hat on, and 100% of that time it's backwards.
You know what it is? It's a catcher thing. We're used to having the hat backwards and the mask in front of our face. That's all. So yeah, that's. What about the sun though? That's what sunglasses are for, Lacey. That's what sunglasses are for. Your hat's not necessarily for the sun. Okay. Oh my gosh!
Oh man!
All right, I'm done with this. I think it's time to wrap. It's time to wrap up.
My wife who's dragging me through the streets for talking about this TV appearance. I just thought it was cool it existed and was random as shit. It's 2007. It's 2021. It's 14 days later is the first time I see this.
Yeah.
It's not
it's
like
I didn't like it though.
I didn't do anything cool to be on TV. It's not me positive. It's a holy shit, that's me 14 years ago. That's random as all hell. The world's weird.
Look
that's
at my hair.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people gave me some shit on my hair, and I'm willing to say it was a really bad choice. I look like garbage, but it's still me, so it's still cool.
That's how you do it, you.
I still own the damn jersey. 14 years later, it's in my closet. I guess I better take that to a donation center.
There you go. There you go. All right. Yes, he is a substitute. That's for sure. All right, guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay tuned for next week. Hopefully, knock on wood, everybody wish Fred to good health and hope that he gets better. Fred, be more tuber is out there. He wishes you would get better too. So make sure you guys send him some well wishes, and we'll all see you guys next week.
See ya.